Hi, this is Jennifer of Little Red Stockings. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite free patterns on Ravelry that are specifically for babies and toddlers. The first pattern that I want to talk about is actually a toy. It's my favorite toy pattern. I've made a lot of modifications to it, but I think that's the point of the pattern, is to make modifications in it. It's called Anything Animals, and the designer is Rachel Carroll. On Ravelry, her pattern has 312 projects right now, and it has an average rating of 4.5 from users, and the difficulty level, it's very easy. So here are some examples. Here's a little bear that I've made. And here's a little cat. The pattern that she has is very simple and straightforward. It could definitely be for beginners. She has you, instead of making it in the round, she actually has you make it straight with some seaming and then add little I-cord, arms and legs. And for her pattern, she has you make the ears separately, and also to embroider the face. You can put beads for the eyes. The only problem with that though is that sometimes children want to rip them off. And also for hers, she has you add knit color to the body, where for some of mine I actually knit separate clothes. So the sweater is separate, it's removable. For a pattern that's cute and that children love, I cannot tell you how much I love this pattern because it's so simple, it's so straightforward, and you can use little bits of stash yarn. I also can't tell you how many girlfriends of mine who are mothers and they want to make that pattern. She made it with Aran weight. I made mine with worsted weight, and it's Pattern's classic wool, so it's a beautiful wool, but it's one of your less expensive wools, which is really good though, especially for something like this where your child might spit up on it a lot and you have to, just hand wash it a lot. And so instead of using a really luxurious wool that you might feel uncomfortable washing all the time, you have this wool that's just a really nice wool. I love this pattern because it was a quick knit, it was really straightforward, and it's so adorable and perfect for a baby. I think this size is perfect for a cuddle cloth. So right now it has 118 projects on Ravelry, and its rating gets almost above 4 stars, and the difficulty is easy. The next pattern that I want to talk about was made by Elizabeth Smith, and it's called the Little Coffee Bean Cardigan. This pattern is simply amazing. I love how it turned out. It was simple to follow, had some really great details. Here's my version of it. I used a yarn that's called Decadent Yarn, and it's a very bright color. It's its own colorway, so that means it's its own special. They dyed this specially. And then I used a color that matches a teal, which is Cascade 220, and I thought it was just perfect. I was actually in Cleveland when I made this baby sweater, so I used, I believe, the next size up needle, and so mine came out a little bigger, but I have to say I really agree with the needle and the gauge that Elizabeth Smith uses, and I think that it really should be that gauge. The Little Coffee Bean Cardigan has 1,891 projects so far that have been completed, and it almost has a 5-star rating. It has a rating of 4.6. from 664 votes. And again, I totally think this is a 5-star sweater. You really can't ask for anything more out of a nice baby sweater, especially that's a free pattern on Ravelry. So I totally recommend moms use this pattern. It has a long sleeve and a short sleeve version on Ravelry. The next pattern that I want to show you is a basic yoke baby sweater 2.0 by Duffy Stephens. This pattern hasn't had as many projects made. It's only had 25 projects made from it so far. This was one of my first baby sweaters that I ever made. So I didn't really know if it was gonna be a good sweater or not because I had nothing to compare it to. Now that I've made a whole lot of baby sweaters, I have to say that I go back to this pattern a lot and I just absolutely love it. I think it's the quintessential classic baby pattern that's easy to make. It taught me a lot about sweater construction. It's the perfect size. I mean, I just can't say enough about this sweater. And I made mine out of Decadent Yarns, which again is its own special colorway. So they dye, Decadent Fibers dyes their yarns themselves, and they come out so beautiful and vibrant, and each colorway is a little different. So far there's only been 25 projects made from this baby sweater. However, out of 7 votes it has an almost 5-star rating, and I have to say I think this sweater is, again, another 5-star sweater. Alright, this next pattern is one of my favorite patterns for preemies. It's not all that easy to find preemie patterns or patterns for really little babies, and so this one is called the Paxton Preemie and Newborn Jacket. It has 616 projects so far in Ravelry, and it has a very high rating of 4.6 from 216 votes. I love the sweater so much, I can't even tell you. I love the size of it. I love the fit. I absolutely love that the increases are done along, it's actually done 4 points, one side of the sleeve and another side of the sleeve. And not only does that look decorative, it makes it super easy to make. Also, there's garter stitch along the collar and the bottom, and you can definitely, I actually started making the sweater with this color and totally ran out of the color. And then, so I thought, oh no, what am I gonna do? And so what I did was I knit the sleeves and the bottom of the jacket with a different contrasting color, and I think it came out so cute. And then I actually made little flowers, embroidered little flowers on it. So this sweater should be everyone's standby sweater for that newborn baby or that preemie baby. I think that beginners who aren't used to making baby sweaters could definitely use this pattern. It's called the Frantic Mama Knitted Soaker Pattern. Right now on Ravelry, it has 446 projects that have been finished, and it has a nice high vote of 4.3 from 135 votes. This is probably my favorite soaker pattern ever. It doesn't take up a whole lot of yarn. Let me show it to you. So it has a rib, and then you just knit it in the round and you go straight down, and this part you knit in the round in stockinette stitch. It goes by super fast. And then you decrease, you leave these stitches live, you decrease on both sides, and then you knit up and you actually do the Kitchener stitch along here. Sometimes beginners get intimidated with the Kitchener stitch, but honestly it's one of those things in knitting that once you start doing the Kitchener stitch, you are going to be so grateful that you learned how to do it, because really it makes such a beautiful, seamless, almost invisible seam. You could really never sew something and get it to look that invisible. And once you learn how to do the Kitchener stitch, you get faster and faster at it. So as a beginner, if you're first working the Kitchener stitch, don't get discouraged if you don't fully understand it, or if you're doing it really slow, because that will change. One of the reasons why I absolutely love this pattern is that she gives a chart with different sizes and all the different numbers of stitches, and so using that chart, following that chart, I find is really great if you need to make the soaker a specific size. Is the Curly Pearly Soaker Pattern, which I think is just amazing. This pattern is by Marnie Ann Joyce. It was published in Curly Pearly. It has 2,555 projects, and it has a 4.3 rating from 748 votes so far in Ravelry. I made a Curly Pearly pattern in a really thick yarn, and it came out so beautiful, but I gave that away, so the only one I can show you is this one that's made out of a little worsted weight wool, and it's a preemie size. I made it really small, and it came out so pretty. Again, the difference, one of the main differences between the Curly Pearly Soaker and the Frantic Mama Soaker Pattern is that instead of doing the Kitchener stitch across here, you end up doing the Kitchener stitch along the bottom. So you're gonna knit this whole thing down in the round, and you're gonna decrease, you're gonna stop, and then you're gonna pick up these stitches and you're gonna decrease and you're gonna stop, and then you're gonna end up Kitchener stitching the bottom. I really hope that you can try some of these projects, and happy knitting!